Well, hello there and welcome to the About Small Business podcast. In this week's episode, I'm actually going to be chatting to a local business to me, just down in Lanchester. I'm talking to Kris Murray from KRS Fire Safety Solutions. Kris, thank you for coming on the podcast.
No problem, thanks for having us.
Now, fire safety, we've had numerous chats before about fire safety because you are obviously a fully qualified and trained fireman, aren't you?
Yeah, firefighter at Tyne-away, yeah.
And not only that, this isn't your first business, is it? You've had a number of other business interests.
Number three.
Number three?
Yeah.
Right.
So started out with, so one of them has been all the way through. So I had a valeting business.
Yes.
Massive passionate about cars. Love me 80s cars.
I was going to say, I seem to recall you had a DeLorean hire company as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so that was the other business, was Ashbrook Wedding Cars and DeLorean Hire North East. They were kind of amalgamated, and I had this lovely slogan of something special, something different.
Yeah.
What used to happen was that the groom was always getting, I thought there was a niche here, the groom's always getting told, the go you da, whereas the bride would always get the beautiful fancy car. Yeah. And that's fine. So I thought, why not have the beautiful fancy car for the bride, and we'll have the DeLorean for the groom to go there and the best man. Sometimes the bride would be keen to have the DeLorean, so they would still, end up getting it. But it was my passion for that car. I had to prove to my wife that it was worth keeping.
Right, okay. I was going to say, did this have anything to do with your own marriage?
Yeah. Well, no. So my own marriage, my wife was happy for me to have it. She's known for a long time. We've been together 20 years. That was a big fan of Back to the Future, big fan of the car, big fan of all things 80s. So when one came available at quite a really good price, I thought, please. And she sort of said, go on then. So, my son was young enough for it wasn't really going to affect us financially in that respect. And then she says, after a year, you've had your fun with it, can you? And she says, unless you can come up with a way of making it work for us. So I thought, right, business plan, what can we do?
Right, that's quite fascinating because, so you've been forced into entrepreneurial mode.
Into that one, yes. I mean, the valeting was an easy thing because I used to clean cars as a teenager to make a few quid.
I was going to say because it sounds quite a simple one, but there's always going to demand. Things are always going to get dirty out there.
Oh, absolutely.
And
people inherently have got enough in their lives going on. They don't want to think about, God, the car's full of dog hairs, or went to the beach the other day and I've got sand in it. So that people like myself are ideal, and it's not that expensive. And if you're passionate about the cars, and I used to think to myself, well, if I'm paying for this, how would I want the car to look at the end of it? So that was my ethos. So the cars would always be as clean as I would expect them to be if I was getting the car. Yeah. And being a bit OCD, it does come in handy sometimes because you're then a little bit more fastidious. And then you also come up with ways to, if there's a stain that won't come out, you come up with a bit of fabric dye to get rid of that stain kind of thing. And then obviously little things like little touches like that were extras.
Yeah. Fundamentally finding solutions to issues that your customers have got. So so you did that as a teenager? So
I started off as a kid before I joined the Air Force.
Right.
And then subsequently, when I joined the fire brigades, most firefighters do have a second job. It is just, the nature of you've got that extra time. And if you're like me, I don't like to sit around doing nothing. So I set up this valeting business back in 2008.
Right. So in terms of how old were you when you were a teenager doing this?
Oh, I was about 13, 14.
13 or 14. Yeah. Was that a necessity because
it was
you weren't getting as much money as you wanted?
Well, you get your pocket money of your parents. Yeah. Which back in the mid 90s was early to mid 90s was about £2 a week kind of thing. So I would charge £3.50 to do hoover a car and wash your car on the outside. And of course, the people in my street so I would get people within the streets on Priory Road where my dad lived in Durham near Frammelgate. And then other streets would say, I've heard about this lad who lives on Priory Road who does the cars. So I would end up doing more than that.
So initially in your first stages, were you door knocking or was it?
Just door to door, sort of introducing myself, saying, I just live around number 18. I've been cleaning the cars on the street. Are you interested in getting yours done? And a lot of kids used to do that. They'd go around with a bucket and a sponge and they'd say, come wash your car, and he'd ask them for the hot water and for the fairy liquid, and then you'd wash the car. And I mean, a lot of brave people out there letting youngsters who dropped the sponges 5 or 6 times clean that Sierra. So I was a bit more fastidious than that. So
I was I've never really thought about it like that because obviously I was aware that it's not something I did myself, but I was aware obviously I had mates that they'd be asking for a bucket of soap. In fact, I think window cleaners did the same thing.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Now, I'm asking you a technical question here, but I'm sure I heard that if you use fairy liquid, that's not great for your car.
Great. No, in this day and age of like ceramic coatings and stuff like that, it's it's a degreaser effectively. You use it on your dishes to get rid of the grease.
Yeah.
So to all intent and purposes, you are degreasing your car, which is kind of what TFR is, traffic film remover. But you want to use that in very, very small amounts just to get the road muck off, you know, and then you go to the soap and the suds in the car, and Uber waxes and stuff like that. So yeah, fairy liquid's not ideal.
Right, okay. So a little tip for anyone that's watching there, don't use fairy liquid.
No, that's a terrible idea.
Right.
But I used to have, because I had a love for cars, if I saw a dirty car, I used to think, oh, how good would that look if it was clean?
Did your dad have a nice car?
Yeah, well, my dad used to work for a company called AT&T, which was like an IT firm, and he used to get a company car a year. So we had an old Rover 213 and then one of the 216s, and I used to love it on a Sunday when we went to church on the morning.
Yeah.
Because I'd done the car on the Saturday, just looking how shiny the car was. He used to take a lot of self-pride in that, thinking it was great, and obviously meant for my dad as well, because he had a clean car for Monday morning for work. So, but yeah, I you know, my parents had good cars, and it was, I think from an early age, I just had this fascination with cars in general. Yeah. And so that lent itself to, like I say, the wedding car thing, the car cleaning thing.
It's not a passion I share. No. But it's, I mean, as you'll see from my car outside, and how dirty it is as well.
Nothing wrong with that car outside. It's very dirty. All cars are this time of year.
That does create that industry there, doesn't it, straight away? And it's interesting that you've cottoned on to that from such an early age.
Yeah.
And being quite entrepreneurial, because, you know, that sort of door knocking, and then the word of mouth,
absolutely.
is I think, you know, where most business kind of had to start. So you've learnt that from an early age. I mean, were you interested in business at school? Did you do business studies or anything like that?
I did actually. Yeah. So when I finished my GCSEs, I stayed at sixth form, and it was known as GMVQ Business Law and Finance.
Right.
So you did a little bit of economics there. You did a little bit of business law, and you learned how to run a business plans and all that sort of stuff. And I did that because although I always loved the prospect of the forces or the emergency services, that was always my passion. I thought, well, if I don't get in there, I need to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Because I'd already done little businesses, like little things as a teenager and stuff, and always thought I found ways to make a bit extra coin for myself.
Yeah.
You know, if I wanted a pair of Nike Air Max, you know, I wouldn't always want to ask my parents. I want to be able to provide it for myself.
Yeah.
So to that end, I would go across and I would think, right, how can I make this work? You know what I mean? So it's a strange one, because when you're a youngster, no one wants to give you any coin. They're like, I want the experience. I want the people that.
Yeah. That's it. So, it's interesting, because I'm just thinking about now, it's almost flipped. I mean, obviously, your wife and my wife both work in education, and I know some schools are sort of just forgoing because they can't afford it.
No,
but you're right, when we were.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I mean, ultimately, doing that business, I thought, at least I'll have that backup if it doesn't go. As it turned out, I got into the Air Force, and I learned a good trade during that.
Did you learn anything of value, in your opinion, in the business qualification? No, in the business qualification.
So I would say, from a simple economics point of view, always go for what do people want, and how can you monetize that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from it's supply and demand.
Because it's quite interesting to learn about that early background. Everything is like, it's about those raw basics about making business successful. Absolutely. Knocking on the doors, doing a good job so you get word of mouth, and providing a service that people actually want.
Very much.
And
so.
then it's almost kind of going to take care of itself if you approach it. And
having a passion for it as well.
Yeah.
If you think of, like, a lot of the businesses, sometimes I see people going into business that they think they're going to make a quick. Yeah. Ironically, John DeLorean had a massive passion for cars. He was one of the youngest General Motors executives, but he always wanted to make a car of his own, so he made the DeLorean. But he tried to do it too quickly, on the cheap, so that he could make as much coin to put in his own back pocket. And his passion was overrun by just that desire to make the money.
Yeah.
And I think whilst we all want to earn a living, we also want to do something that we're passionate about, because that then shows in our workmanship, in the business that we provide.
I didn't know that, obviously, about
John DeLorean. Yeah.
So was he successful, or did he?
So with regards to the car, he would have been, had he not pilfered £11 million off the British taxpayer, because he was given £88 million by Margaret Thatcher to build the DeLorean factory in Dunmurry in Belfast.
Right.
Him and Colin Chapman of Lotus conjured up this shell company, which they siphoned off 11 million into. And then when 1983 came, and the emissions crash in America, where primarily the DeLorean was sold to, it started to falter, and they were short of 5 million, but 11 of that had already been pilfered off elsewhere, and so he was asking for more money, and of course it all kind of unravelled. And then sadly that factory had to fold, and so the DeLorean Motor Company, because there was going to be more, there was going to be station wagons, there was going to be SUVs. I've got a book at home, 50 years of the DeLorean and all of the history of it, and there's concept cars of like 4-door sedans that were going to be DMC.
So there's quite a lesson to be learned from that then.
Absolutely.
Isn't there?
Have the passion. Don't always go for the quick buck, because there is a bigger picture. Try and see the future. How can you build on that?
I do think that's a fascinating way of looking at it, because, I mean, fundamentally, and I think this comes, most of us will have a job at some point, and the majority of people, I feel, have a job that they don't particularly like, and hence the obsession with retirement. And I think almost, I do think that's changing at the minute. I think a lot of people just want a change from the jobs, but they're thinking about not necessarily retirement, but how they can spend their time in a way that suits them better. And I mean, retirement, I suppose, because obviously your main job's obviously you've been in the forces, haven't you?
Yeah. So
which force was it?
So I was in the Royal Air Force for 10 years.
In the RAF for 10 years, right? Okay, so you've been in the RAF, and you've obviously your next job when you came out, you were in the firefighters.
Yeah.
And both of those would have, I presume, some sort of pension.
Yeah.
Was that ever relevant to you?
In the early years, no. And I don't think anybody who was in their like sort of teens, early 20s would even remotely consider that far in the future. Luckily for me, as part of the government, you know, they will have a pension in place. I didn't know how much it was worth or what it was going to get me. So when I came out after 10 years and I sort of was told, you've got this lump sum, you can either put it in the fire brigade pension scheme or you can keep it separate. I was advised to keep it separate. Yeah. Which is, as it's turned out, because the fire brigade have changed the pension scheme 3 times in my time.
Yes.
It's worked out well. There's also a lot of people don't retire when they're supposed to now. I think what we're finding is a lot of people feel like they love the fire brigade that much.
Yeah.
They'll stop on a couple of extra years. I'll maybe do 2 or 3 more years. So that desire to retire so quickly isn't quite as. And again, that also comes with, if you love your job and you love what you do.
Yeah.
There's no real necessity to sort of put that big stopgap, unless ill health or you do lose that passion.
Was that the same with the RAF?
So the RAF, you would do 22 years, sorry. So ironically, I would have retired at the age of 40.
Right.
So 22, because I joined at 18 and would have retired on full pension at the age of 40. It seems ludicrous, doesn't it, when you think
about it? Do many people do that?
What tends to, I mean, if you join up at 18, and certainly in my time, and sort of in the late 90s, people would go to, and then they would go off and do other jobs. So you would get resettlement money, you would get retraining, so you'd be able to go off and do courses paid for by the armed forces, and then you could set up in a new business, you know what I mean? So a lot of people did that. But there were a lot of people who would stay on past that 22. They would maybe get promoted to sergeant or flight sergeant, and some of them would maybe even consider going for the officer side of things.
So the full career.
Oh yeah, I mean, even with me, I got to corporal. I would have done a full career, and I would like to think I would have got as far as chief technician, which was still where you were still on the shop floor, and getting your hands sort of stuck in. Whereas beyond that, going to flight sergeant and warrant officer was more office based, and couldn't think of anything worse than sitting in an office day after day. It would drive me up the wall.
No, I mean, you've already said. I mean, you're someone that likes to be out and about and doing things, aren't you? So.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, with regards to that,
what was your main decision to leave the RAF then?
I fell out of love with the job.
Yeah.
There were so many aspects of it that I did enjoy, but with money cuts, a lot of things becoming more automated. I was very much a hands-on, fixing things, getting, I loved hanging upside down inside of a Mark 11 hydraulic rig, trying to work out why it wasn't working properly. And then it got to a point towards the sort of mid-2000s where it was plug a laptop in and central office in Sweden will tell you what's the matter with it. And that kind of defeated the object for me. And I was spending more time putting diesel into ground equipment next to jets, which was great from a visual point of view. Yeah. But from a mind-taxing point of view, mind-numbing.
Yeah.
Pumping diesel day after day into ground equipment just wasn't what I was at this point a fully qualified technician. Yeah. Doing some of that I would have thought anybody really could have, and I just lost passion for it.
Yeah, it's fair. So what was it about the fire service that attracted you?
Ironically, that was what I wanted to join the RAF as. I wanted to be a Royal Air Force firefighter. Right. But my attestation scores got me higher into like the technical trades, and the sort of aired me towards that side of things. Do you want to be a technical trade? Do you want? Well, I really want. Well, the firefighters, they're a reserve trade. They're going to be going Ministry of Defence soon. You're not going to really have a job anymore. So you're best off. I was kind of guided towards that side of things because I had that technical brain.
Right.
So I was always in the back of my mind wanting to be a firefighter. My grandfather, my uncle were both RAF, so there was a family history of it.
Yeah.
But the appeal of working on flight lines, because I'm planes, trains, automobiles, I'm a big fan of anything automotive in any way, shape or form. So working with aircraft was also a big bonus in that respect. So I thought if I could be a firefighter working next to planes, every box is ticked.
Yeah, that's fine.
But then they said the techie stuff would be more interesting to us. So
I think the firefighter side of things is it did seem one of the services that didn't seem to get a lot of grief from the general public. But I know certainly you've got some horrendous stories about the way that you were treated.
I don't understand where the world's changed in that respect. So I still love when you're driving down the road and you'll see families waving at you and the band's getting excited because there's the fire engine, you know what I mean? And that I love. And we still do get predominantly positive reviews. Yeah. But somewhere on the line, whether it's to do with things that the kids are watching or peer pressure or this desperate need to be accepted within a certain peerage group, they're throwing things at us. They're barricading us into car parks so we can't get out. They're setting fires in such awkward places, knowing fine well that that's going to tie up a fire engine for 2 hours. It's
always puzzled me because, I mean, I'm obviously not condoning it, but I kind of get it with teaching. You're telling people what to do and no one likes that. As police, it's that authority again. You've been told what to do, but the fire service, all the fire service kind of seem to do is help.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously that's what teachers want. That's what the police want. But with the fire service, you don't seem to have that telling people what to do in any way, shape or form.
I mean, even because we wear body-worn cameras now, that's a newer thing actually. Because I'm coming up to my 19th year as a firefighter. Yeah. And certainly in the first 12 to 15 years, body-worn cameras were not a thing for us. We didn't feel the need to need them, to use them. And then certainly probably in the last 3 or 4 years, it's become a thing now. We all have to wear body-worn cameras. Certainly the gaffers. Yeah. The firefighters don't. That may change as the future goes ahead. But when we put them on, that also seems to antagonise them. I don't know why, but it's a bit of a double-edged sword. If I don't put them on, to potentially not antagonise them, if something does happen, I haven't got it recorded. Yeah. But if you put them on, all of a sudden they feel like they're under the microscope, and then they become quite belligerent and want to sort of be argumentative with you. Now, I'm quite a calm, chilled person generally, and I'll try and be affable with them. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, I don't tend to get any bother from them. Yeah. They'll ask us obscure questions, and I'll just try and be as nice about it and stuff like that. Or maybe just turn around and say, would you want to be a firefighter? No, I mean, I wouldn't want to do that, You'll get that kind of reaction. But 9.5 times out of 10, they're pretty good with us. Yeah. There are some people who maybe are not great at dealing with that and can be quite antagonistic back to them, and then that's when it all goes. I'm going to say it's a degree of patience is required in those kind of situations, isn't it? Because it's so easy to escalate, and ultimately, if it's your job, then it's your job on the line, and you do try to sort of go along the side of try to appeal to their sensitive side if they have them for that, for want of a better phrase, and say to them, look, there could be a house fire that we're not getting to because we're doing this. Wait, want me, mate? Want me? But you kind of know that they've hung around because they want to see the after effects of their labours. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We're not. I mean, I'm intelligent enough to know that if you've set the fire, they want to hang around and see what's going on. And they do tend to. I'm never making assumptions, but they do tend to look hugely guilty, and they're pointing the fingers at each other as if it wasn't me, it was that person over there. It's it's stupidity you've got to deal with, and all sorts. And you try to appeal to the side of them. What if that was your house, or what it was, and we just want to keep people safe. We don't want to be messing around putting out bin fires in a park. Yeah. Because a couple of young ones got bored and wanted to see, the after effects of their, for my stupidity. Absolutely. But it is what it is. I mean, I know you talk about education. people say, oh, well, they should be educated better to do it. It doesn't work like that, because having you work in education, your wife does, my wife does. I know that if it were that simple, it would be a better place. But
I think it does tend to be one of these things. People talk about education, but it's not. It's never that simple, is it?
No, it's not a fix for everything. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not. There are issues that maybe have sort of deeper rooted and that clearly when you're just setting fire to things, there are deeper issues there. I think it's not just. Massively. I mean, people know that's wrong, don't they?
Well, they do, but they seem to think that it's only a simple bin fire, or it's only a tree trunk we've set alight, but there's. Again, I talk about the bigger picture in business, but it's also the bigger picture within the job I do now. It's like, well, you're doing that, but if that's taking a frontline appliance out for 2 hours because we can't physically get to it without carrying buckets, going back to buckets, you know what I mean? It's not like we'll run 10 lengths of hose out and go to it. We will have to be pragmatic and go, well, this is really going to be a carrying buckets backwards and forwards over a field situation. Yeah. You know, we don't have 4x4s to go career run over the mountains and stuff. So yeah, it does, and it can be quite frustrating, because I work at a very busy fire station in Gateshead, and it's
I was going to say, I mean, like, there are clear frustrations there. I mean, just going back to your cleaning business, because you had Crystal Clear,
Crystal Clear
Valeting, didn't
Play
you?
on words, KRIS.
Indeed.
My wife's idea.
Right, there you go.
Educator.
But I mean, with that, I do know you were quite busy with that. It was a fairly successful business.
Yeah, still is.
Were you never tempted to just run with that? And
I think there's a time in your life where you realise you're getting on a bit.
Right.
And at 46, my shoulders were starting to show signs of wear and tear. And I didn't want to stop being able to do my primary job as a firefighter. So I decided my 25-year-old nephew would be a fantastic replacement.
Right.
He's kind of, he's such a good kid. He's a very hard worker. And I just thought, I'm going to pass that on to you. He wanted his own business. He had the same mindset as me. He wanted to make a life for himself. Yeah. He had a good idea for business as well. His partner works as an estate agent. She's good with the social media stuff. So they're hitting the ground running with that. So I passed it on to him, and I decided that I would go for, again, my next passion, which was my fire safety aspect of things, which led us on to the KRS.
Before we get onto there, because you did mention another business, and from memory, was that not something to do with tyres?
Right, so technically 4 businesses then. So the tyre thing came out of, it was a good friend of mine called Andrew, who had a bit of a situation with a van, and he needed a new mobile tyre van to get all these equipment and go out and do things mobile, and he needed a bit of investment. So I decided to be that investment because he was a friend, and I thought, well, actually, maybe this could be, because it was still to do with cars. Yeah. So I thought maybe this could be my next thing to get me away from the valeting, because this was back in 2022. Yeah. And I'd already started the sort of the timer, or the stopwatch on when I was going to sort of bring the valeting to a sort of its natural end from my perspective. I'd always had Caleb, my nephew, in the background as a potential, but he was working at a garage, and I think at that time he was quite settled just doing that. So I thought maybe he wouldn't want to take over. Yeah. So the tyre place, KJ Tyres, I wanted to help Andy out to maintain the business, to get a new van. So I invested in the business so we could get the van, get the equipment, and still go mobile. And that now has gone from strength to strength. I've kind of become a silent partner in that now. Right. The valeting still. So what I would used to do, I would tie the two in together. So if I was doing a valet on a car and I noticed that tyres needed doing, I'd give them a card. They'd get 10% discount if they went to KJ Tyres with the card from me. And that would be business for Andy. It would maintain that extra little niche that I had within the valeting side of things. And because I was also shown that caring side, which was, I think tyres are on, it wasn't so much just to get Andy work. It was also if I saw these people had tyres that were effectively illegal or dangerous, because people don't take notice of things like that. No,
it's, and again, I mean, we've discussed this. It's a frustration for people. It's something's going wrong, and it's just that all those negative connotations. So it's quite a difficult.
And it's nice when someone comes to you with a solution. Yeah. Most of the time, we have so much going on in our lives that if someone just had a solution for all of those things that were a drama that we just don't want to deal with. Yeah. Who's going to fix my washing machine? Why is my car not starting? Oh, that tap's leaking. You want to be able to solve everyone's problems as such, but you've also got to be conscious of the fact that you can't please everyone all the time.
No, absolutely.
And I think that's something I learned with the valeting. There was times where people were like, oh, you missed this, but you couldn't quite get that. And even though I'm quite fastidious about it, there are times where I'll go, but it's a 20-year-old Ford, and there are certain things I just can't do. You would try, but you say it in the nicest possible way. I say, I'll try and do my best. I'll maybe do this and I'll do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, it was a case of just making that effort did kind of quell the issue.
Yeah.
And I think that's across the board in any business. If
it's about how you can make your customers feel, and if you can kind of over deliver on something.
Yeah, even with the valeting, I would machine polish a door that had a scratch in it, and not charge extra because it took me 5-10 minutes. So in terms of like a value for money aspect, they were getting more. And for me, I felt like, well, they're going to pass on the fact that I've done something a bit extra for them.
Yeah, I think again, it comes down to as well the fact that, I mean, yes, the customer might always be right, but you don't want every customer, and there are certain customers that you just don't want to be dealing with, and you know, and I think any business owner will know exactly what that is.
I'm conscious of not being that customer sometimes. I'll twist about something.
I'm conscious that I really can be. There's
nothing wrong with wanting everything done.
No, I mean, I was like that when I was younger. No one likes to feel they've been ripped off.
Exactly.
And that, I think, if you're that sort of nightmare customer, you're just perhaps a little bit more conscious of that sort of thing happening.
But you know, the other thing that doing the valeting was I met so many different people from so many different business backgrounds. I then built up quite a big dossier of people I could trust, or if I'd got to know cars, like, you know, over a period of time. I'm quite a chatty person, as it's probably come across, and I would get to know these people, and then I would sort of have a bit of a rapport with them, and then I would find out a bit about what they did and all. So then I could go to other customers. Oh, you're looking for a roofer? Oh, well, I know such and such.
Yeah, it's that recommendation, the networking, and I think that you do.
I got that with the valeting, and I got a really good and a lot of that. Ironically, a lot of the businesses that I did valeting for have now considered taking me on in my new business venture.
That makes sense. Before we get on to your new business venture, you did mention another business that I'm clearly not aware of.
No. So,
and I'm fascinated.
No. So when I first started in the fire brigade, I did Clean Easy, which is the booklet.
Yes,
thing.
I do.
So you had to be like a self-employed.
Yeah.
Go out, hand the books out, and hope that people would put them back out again. Otherwise, you had to buy another 50 of them to sort of. That was the way.
Right. Yes, I do vaguely. Right. So how did that go?
It lasted about 3 months, and I realised that it was just a non-starter. It's very much a sort of, you have to bring other people in. That's how that works for that business. And so for me, that was a kind of it was an early start into doing something. I had no passion for it.
No.
It was just, at the time, I'd only just started out in the fire brigade. I only just passed my probation, and I was just looking for something, and I didn't think about the valeting aspect things because that actually came around by accident.
Right.
So I tried this out, realised I don't like this. I'm not enjoying it, and hence why I gave it up. As soon as I realised it wasn't for me, I just cut ties.
Cut it.
And then a friend of mine was asking about, he was selling a mobile valeting business at the time. He was based over in Sunderland, where I was working at the time. And I thought, hey, why didn't I think of that? I used to do that as a teenager. That's a great idea. And it was lucky for me that it was all ready in this van, ready to go. I didn't have to think it too hard. The aspect of cleaning was fine. I already was big into cleaning my own cars.
Yeah.
So
you've got the gear. You can just then get out and
just hit the
start
ground running.
Yeah.
It's the name on the business that I bought was called Valet All, and I thought, I want this as my own thing. So my wife said, what about crystal clear? Use your first name and have it. And that's where it was born out of. And 16 years down the line, it's still going strong.
Fantastic. So we're now on to, obviously, I mean, how many years have you been a firefighter?
So I started in April 07, so we're coming up to 19 years in April.
Right. So that's quite a lot of expertise developed over that period of time.
Yeah.
And you're not, I don't want to say just a fire person. You've got jobs within the fire brigade, haven't you? Like you've done education.
Most stations have got absolutely. Most stations have got specialties.
Yeah.
My particular specialty at the station I'm at currently is foam. So if a big fuel tanker went up or something, that would be my niche area. And we were actually training up at the airport last week. Just for that, we were using the old fuselages and doing foam application with that, which I thought was fantastic. You know, it's, again, I love the passion of the job. It's something different every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, we do prevention education. So we also talk about how we go into schools.
Yeah.
We have a department that does that. But actually what people might not realise is that operational firefighters do also go and put smoke alarms up. We go to shops,
yes,
and we do remedial checks on their risk assessments, their firefighting equipment they've got there, their extinguishers and all that sort of stuff.
Which is quite interesting because, I mean, I am aware and have been aware of the extra things that the fire service are happy to do.
Yeah.
With all that in mind, what made you decide that KRS Fire Safety Solutions would be a good bet for you?
In terms of like a good bet, I mean, you want to do something, like I say, we've been talking all the way through this, do something you love, right? So fire safety has always been something I've loved. I've always wanted to be a firefighter, and I've always had that mindset that I want, keep people safe. It's kind of the whole point of it. It sounds a bit cliche and it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's not, it's true. I set this up because for the last almost 19 years, as part of my role, we go out and we do remedial checks on other people's fire risk assessments and their fire safety within their property. So any businesses that needed it, up until a couple of years ago, only businesses over 5 people needed one. So it wasn't always like smaller businesses that needed it. But we'd go in, we'd check that their risk assessment was done, we'd check that they had extinguishers that had been recently checked, that they had alarm systems if they needed them. And if they were maybe not 100% sure, we'd give them a bit of advice.
Yeah.
Do this, and you'll be a lot safer. And that was it. And we would write up a report, and then we would hand that to our fire safety department. And if there was any remedial work needed doing, they would maybe go out again and do a check on them. So doing that for so many years, and a few of my colleagues and friends in the brigade said, well, we're actually going to go and do the course and qualify as that because we're coming up for retirement.
Right.
And we think we'll do that in our retirement years. It's just ticking over. And I thought, why wait for retirement? I've still got 14 years left in this job before I retire at 60. So I thought, I can't do the valeting forever. My good friends who, when I go out with in the village, says, how do you manage? Because I used to be flat out. And it was difficult because if I wasn't at the fire station on my days off, I'd spend at least 2 or 3 of my 4 days off doing the car cleaning.
Yeah.
I would never let it interfere with family. If there was a weekend, I wouldn't do any.
Yeah.
And if there was stuff to do with my son and my wife, that was all would take precedence. So you've got to still have that work-life balance.
It's what you're working for, isn't it?
Yeah. That's all I do it for is, yes, I've got a passion for what I do, but ultimately the overriding reason for doing anything is for my wife and son.
Family, yeah.
It is. And I'm hugely passionate about that. And I think if you're only doing it just for the coin, just to have the money, it's again not the right reason. You've got to have something to aim for.
You're quite traditional as well, aren't you? You're religious.
I am.
The whole
church
family
thing and all that sort of stuff. I mean, all that sort of stuff. But I do believe that a lot of what I've got in life, I do believe there's a high purpose. Yeah. And I will not go down that road of things. No. But ultimately, I do feel like there's a...
I only mentioned it just basically about your values.
But I do have that side of us as well, which is, I really, I think is important. But yeah, I do this for my family. Yeah. So yes, I was always flat out with that, but I realised I couldn't do that forever. Yeah. There is a point where your joints aren't quite... I hate the fact that I'm so close to 50 and I have to now admit to the fact that I am getting older. Yeah. So I thought, well... yeah, I'll do the course. I've already got a passion for it. I already have a bit of knowledge about it. So I feel for those people who did this course that I did with zero knowledge, because it is intense. There's a lot of...
Do you get that then? Because, I mean, it just... people doing a course about fire safety without being a firefighter first.
So what tends to happen, a lot of the people that were on the course that I were on do have a background in it, civilian or otherwise. But there were some people who did it because, I mean, one lady who I've become friendly with, her husband fits fire alarms and burglar alarms and stuff like that. Right. And they were getting a lot of requests for fire risk assessments. And she was a former teacher who had enough. Yeah. So she came to work at the business and went and did this course, and she was starting from scratch, and she's done really well. She's really picked it up, hit the ground running. Every so often we'll have a chat and I'll maybe say, oh, well, if you do this, this and this, that might make it a bit easier for your risk assessment. So there were people who've gone into it with maybe more from a necessity point of view, or for it's more of a convenience point of view. But they are getting the understanding of why it's important. So they are getting that passion. And I think you do still have to have that little bit of passion.
If you're enjoying this content, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to let you know exactly when another podcast's going to drop.
Before you go down that road, because it is very legislative heavy, a lot of British standards, a lot of stuff that just would go over your head, and I wouldn't expect it to interest people, because it is a lot of government spiel.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. with any course like that and most compliance things, they are heavy on, because I think we've become a little bit more litigious in this country of late. You know, it used to be like the case that we weren't in this country and it was a very much an American thing. And I think as when money gets a bit tighter, that does happen.
It does.
And so for businesses, there's a perception that all businesses are doing well, and consequently you are going to get targeted. I know charities in the area that they're even saying that people are looking at them. It tends to be, you know, maybe people that are in trouble themselves. They're looking for an easy fix for that, to sort that out. And,
without a shadow of a doubt.
And I suppose that's the solution that you provide, isn't it? It's like you can help mitigate that.
I also look at it from I do stick to the legislation, but I'm also very pragmatic. There are ways of hitting that legislation, keeping you safe without going nuts. And I think that also helps as well. You've got to be conscious of the fact that these businesses aren't in a position to spend absolute fortunes going for the A1 gold star, but you can go for the bronze star, which still gives you that level of safety. As long as the people are safe, that's the most important aspect of it. It's not about, look what I've got and look how amazing my system is, or look what it's about having that fundamental knowledge of fire safety and making sure that everyone goes home at the end of the day safely.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And how you do that, as long as it's done in a safe, concise manner, that's my mindset.
19 years is a long time in the fire service.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, you must have seen some horrendous sights.
Unfortunately.
And I'm just wondering, how many of those do you think would have been easily preventable? What sort of percentage, in your view, would have been easily preventable had someone like yourself round to?
I think, I'm thinking of a couple of specific ones. Yeah, probably all. I would say a large percentage could be. It's difficult to quantify from a percentage point of view, because there's so many other aspects to why things happen. In emergencies, whether it's fires, whether it's car accidents, whether it's people getting trapped. It's just a perfect storm. Yeah. One thing happens, another thing happens, and it just leads to that end. There are occasions where you go in, for instance, like a takeaway, and will not be descriptive, but I've been to jobs where they've had no fire safety whatsoever, no detection. The extinguishers are hidden in a cupboard and haven't been tested for about 5 years.
Yeah.
The rear fire exit's got a shutter on it, which is all the way down because they're worried that someone's going to come in and try and steal something. And this particular one, they've gone home at night time. There's a flat where people live above, and one of them's forgot to switch the fryer off, and it's gone up. And then we turn up, it's coming through the shutters, it's coming out the windows, and there's a family living upstairs, and we've got to get them out. Do you know what I mean? And they would have had more knowledge that it was happening, and they'd have been out themselves, had an alarm gone off, a detector had gone off and told them.
So this is just simple things like just a smoke detector or carbon monoxide detectors.
Yeah, well, more than like smoke and heat detector, because when you're working in a kitchen, obviously heat detector's better because the smoke that you're going to naturally get off the cooking. Yeah. But just to have that level, any level, you're going to have it, even living above it. If you hear a detector go off, it is going to wake you up and you're going to wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
Having nothing there, granted, an extinguisher and a fire exit wouldn't have made any difference because no one was in that particular takeaway. But the people living above it would have had more of an idea. And if it had been a hardwired system that not only worked down there, but also worked upstairs, that's not necessarily the way that would have worked, but they would have had more of an idea. Thankfully, on this occasion, these people were rescued by the crews I was with at the time. But
could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah, so that's just one. And again, I'm not being descriptive. This was quite a few years ago, this particular one, but it just shows that it seems it's not going to happen to me. That aspect of, we'll be fine, it's not us, nobody works here after, but they don't think about, well, what about the people above?
Yeah.
What about if someone is out the back and they're working alone and one of the fryers goes up and they can't get out the front because the fryer's going, but you've got the shutter down at the back.
The implications of something like that are, I suppose, twofold, aren't they? Because I would imagine if you've been negligent in your business, then first of all, you are going to be looking at best significant fines, at worst prison time. Yeah, is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
And but then I suppose the reality of it is, if you, for the sake of saving a few quid, then have on your conscience that you are responsible.
Yeah.
For something quite so tragic.
Yeah.
That's
and it's not trying to scare people. It's just have that mindset that, like, if it was your family member, if your person who's living above that shop, just make sure that they can get out safely, or you can go home safely.
Yes.
It's just a small thing. I know it just seems like yet another thing that we're being asked to do, but, you know, and forget about insurances and all that stuff. Yeah. Just think about the people factor. You want to make sure that everybody goes home safely. When I'm doing the risk assessments, I'm thinking on the side of, right, this particular building has this risk in it, and these people working in there. How can I make sure that if the worst was to happen, and I always think about jobs I've been to where I think, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things we think, wow, I would never have expected that. So I'll then start looking at these and going, right, so I know that that's happened, so how are they going to get out? And at the moment I'm thinking of one I've done recently where I thought, right, to look at the building, you'd think, well, there's only one person working there, that's fine, they'll be all right, they'll get out. But if they're tripping over things on the way out because the final, the clear stairwell is cluttered with stuff, and the final exit's got a load of boxes in front of it, sounds ridiculous, but in a panic moment, and I've seen how people react at jobs.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You're not thinking rationally, because you are, first of all, disbelief that this is actually happening to you.
Yeah.
Second of all of that knowledge, you think, well, I know the quickest way out, disappears. It is just sheer panic and fear. Of course it is.
And it needs to be.
So you don't want anything, even the smallest things, to make it harder for you to just, if you can see the light at the end of that tunnel and it's a nice clear run, nothing else you have to worry about. Out, gone.
Yeah.
But if that is got a door that's wedged open and it's letting the smoke and the heat come through and it's blocked you from getting out, where else are you going to go? And you're not going to start thinking, well, I remember this morning there was 3 or 4 exits. They were here, here, and here. You're not going to do that.
No.
So it's a case of make it as easy for that person, and imagine they've never been in this building before.
Yeah. And obviously that's your job to do that.
Yeah.
Is it going to necessitate a really costly procedure? Are you going to be having to spend thousands on?
Thousands, no, Craig. So I mean, my risk assessments generally for small businesses tend to be anything from 150 to 200 quid.
Right.
And that's mostly because, and it's like that age-old adage, you are paying 50 pence for the actual sheet of paper with it written on.
Yeah. And
you're paying the other 195 for my almost 20 years experience, the money I've spent training myself up to do it, and that little extra knowledge I have about when I go into your building.
It's not a lot of money, and it is now, as I understand it, it's now law.
So so Grenfell, such a tragedy, and there were so many things that came out of Grenfell that realised that the legislation was a bit too wishy-washy.
Yeah.
And they've now clamped down on a lot of things, saying to people, you can do your own risk assessment if you're a competent person. You quantify what a competent person is. For me, it's someone who knows about fire safety.
I was going to say, I think a competent person, ultimately, you've got to be fairly good. If something goes wrong, if you're a competent, then that is on you, and you've got to be able to stand up and explain your decisions. You, as someone that's with the 20 years experience, you can do that. Mm-hmm. It's not something I'd be looking at leaving to myself.
People do, because it's a cheaper option. And you can download templates that'll give you ideas of what you need to put in there. But it's more you're just ticking a box. You're not physically looking into it. You wouldn't know about compartmentation. You wouldn't know what type of extinguisher you need. Yeah. Whether you need detection, whether just shouting fire is enough. Because it's not always a case of you need a big alarm system. It could just be something as simple as a detector in a waiting room. Yeah. And the people working on the shop floor can shout, there's a fire. Yeah. Or if you've got security cameras in there and there's a monitor in the office that shows you them security cameras, that could be enough, because you are physically monitoring that place well, so you'll see the smoke. Absolutely. So it's not about, you're going to need thousands of pounds worth of equipment and all this sort of stuff. It is me coming in saying, it's just, I hate the term common sense, but it's just the application of knowledge and just a few basically sort of checking. On game shows, it's only the right answer if you knew it, and that's got to be a good thing. Well, Kris, it's been an absolute pleasure, so thank you very much. Thank you. And we'll wish you all the best in keeping everyone safe, so thank you very much. Thank you.